Guys, I'm gonna start. For some reason, guys, I somehow sense that there is some, breaking sound kind of effect. I hope, I hope everything is gonna be fine. So I started already the broadcast. So let's jump into our topic.
Jump. We're jumping.
Jump, John.
Jump,
I'm just
John.
curious how long the pause. You are
Well,
jumping.
Alex,
Okay.
it's a big one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I was
yeah,
just checking because I was just yes, I was just checking who can hold the pause longer. Yes, and seems like I cannot hold anymore. So I will start. So today topic is gonna be as we agreed, discuss self. Who will continue?
Alex, actually, Alex, you're kind of breaking
Guys,
up a little bit. It
can you hear
seems
me?
yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but Irene and Alice and I seem to have a really good connection. So I don't know how it sounds on your side. So do you all want me to start? Do you want me to
Yes.
just okay, so
Yes.
I'll take the poll. I would never be able to do that. So
Seriously,
today
it's me.
it's
Yes.
you, Alex.
Wow.
You. I'm
So
sorry. It's you, Alex.
Alex is the problem child today. It's okay. I'll keep going, Alex. I'll keep talking. So today, and this kind of came out of
okay.
our. Uh-oh. So it's the three of us now.
He's working on it.
He's working on it. So out of our conversation last week, and after we finished, there was a little bit more discussion, and we started talking about actually this kind of reality that, especially with being virtually online, that what came up is that we're seeing ourselves more and more. We're seeing our image reflected back to us, and it made us think a little bit about what's happening here, and really the question of how are we connecting with ourselves? Are we giving ourselves the opportunity? Because we've talked so much about ensuring that we're connecting with others and making sure, especially during this time, that we're creating those connections because they're healthy and they're needed. As human beings, it's required. It's part of our makeup. But the other side of this is, how are we connecting to ourselves? Especially, and I see two sides here. Is one, when there's just the chaos going on, what we were kind of referring to as the noise that constantly is going on around us, and how are we connecting with ourselves, if at all, when there's so much noise and chaos? But the other question is, how are we connecting with ourselves when it's quiet? Because for many people, there may be, that feeling of isolation, that they are by themselves and there's a lot of quiet space there. And, are we taking that opportunity to connect with ourselves? And so that's really the lead into the conversation for today. How are we connecting with ourselves, and what does that look like for each of us? So then I send it back to you both, Irene or Alice. What would you like to offer?
Go on, Irene.
I was, while listening to you, I was looking for the fact that I'm seeing myself now in the video, but I see the right hand in the left and the left hand in the right, and I see myself in the contrary. So then I don't know how to put my hands because it's different than the mirror. And I was asking, how can I self connect with this this way that is the contrary of me. The sides are the opposite. Is not a direct vision and direct cognizance and understanding of myself. Is an different way to self-reflect now. You trigger me, John, anyway. My thoughts are bubbling up in my mind and say, wow, that's weird. So how can we see ourselves? How can I self-connect in a different way with myself? One of the ways I self-connect with myself is not only by seeing me, because seeing me in the mirror is not the same that seeing me while I'm creating a connection with other human beings, in that case you, Alice, and you, John, today. And I had another conversation before with the group. We would like to create a group with different lifestyle, more grounded on natural life, sustainable. We are talking about all these things, and was a quite different connection with myself and with the group. I think we are experiencing, through going virtual more often, this different way of reflect. These people are from my country, from my land specifically, Sicily, and I was thinking that the way I'm connecting with them is completely different from the way I'm connecting globally, and I have to readjust anytime with
Mhm.
the background culture, because I was far from my birth land since 30 years ago, and I came back 2 years ago, and I noticed that I'm not at all belonging to my land.
Yeah.
And I have to reconnect with their own beliefs, their own system, because it's completely different. And more often than ever in these days, I'm asking, who am I? And who I need to be more and more myself, my true self. And am I all those people that interact with so many people in different way? And what is in common of this in this situation? Uh, what is that connect me with myself and with others all at once?
Yeah.
This is what I think virtually. When I want to be really alone with myself, I go in my garden and I sit on the ground. I want my feet naked, touching the ground, the grabs, and I want to be. I want to have the feeling touch with all is alive. I
Mhm.
want to cuddle my cats. I have this physical kinesthetic experience that I need to feel more.
Yeah. Thank you, Irene. Absolutely. Thank you. No, thank you for sharing that. I'm curious now, Alice. I mean, what are your thoughts as we kind of
Well,
pull all this together?
yeah, my thoughts are all over the place. Like Irene said, I at one when before she started, I was thinking one way, but as she was talking about how she come back home and was not, had to reconnect with her culture and the people she grew up with, it reminded me of I had to do a icebreaker one time, and I did it on my name, and it reminded me of that. because my name, my complete name, is Alice Frances Beauchamp Walker, a Walker Beauchamp. So all of those names, my first name, Alice, is my maternal grandmother's name. My middle name, Francis, is my maternal grandfather's name. Walker was the name I forgot to give back when I got divorced. Little human here. Beecham Beauchamp. That's my father's name. So I look into all of those names and I say, who am I? All of those are kind of like borrowed names. The only name that was specifically given to me that belongs to no one else is my nickname. And I'm the only one in my family that have a nickname. And my nickname is Bank, Bank. And my brother that's younger than me gave me that name when for some reason we have no idea why. But that's my only name. So when I'm trying to self-connect, I ask myself sometimes, who am I? Am I, you know, for my grandmother's name, Alice, am I Alice that, my mother always said when she think of my name, it would remind her of her mother. It was a way of her connecting there. My middle name, Francis, which was her father's name. And I've always liked that name, but I also always thought that's a borrowed name. So where do I find me in among all those names? Where do I find the essence of who I am? So I think this kind of, for me, has been a lifelong journey. And I'm constantly trying to find which part is me. And the conclusion that I came to is I'm a combination of all those people. At different time, I know if I'm somewhere and someone called me Alice, I know immediately I've met that person in school or through a work relationship. I know immediately if someone called me Francis without looking, I know that's a adult that I grew up with when I was growing up. I know if someone called me Bang, that's the children and my sisters or brothers. That's a close family member. So I'm always trying to connect. Who am I? And I remember when I did the icebreaker, I started off Shakespeare's quote, "A rose by any other name would still smell the same." So no matter what they call me, I am me. And I've found a way to connect with me and to bring out in me, I guess, a combination of all those different names, no matter what they call me. That doesn't really signify who I am because that's come from within. My mom used to always tell us, we would come home sometime and no one could pronounce our last name correctly. It should have been pronounced Beauchamp, but here in the South, everybody call it B. So we would all crying. They didn't say our name right. So finally, my dad sit us down one day and say, "Okay, this is your name. From now on, you're Beecham." So we became Beecham. But my mom would say, it doesn't matter what they call you. is what you answer to. So I think with that self connection, that's what I've learned. It doesn't matter what name I'm called, it's what comes from within and how I connect with me internally. My passions, my kindness, my spirituality, all of those things. For me, that's my self connection. No matter what name, external name I'm called, it's the internal part that really take those names and combine them into one to create me. And I don't know if that makes sense, but
I mean, I'm curious. It's so fascinating because I'm watching this kind of evolve. You know, where Irene was talking, and then you picked up something that shifted the thought. I mean, and then as you were speaking, what's funny is all of my names as well have been given to me from ancestors, and this is the fact. I do not connect with them. And actually, there's almost an intentional purpose because I understand some of the history of these names that were given to me, and they don't align really with who I am, which is fascinating. So because I'm not necessarily proud of some of the history that is coming from those names, and so it really struck me. In as you were speaking about the name, like how do I identify and connect with myself? And I think what struck me is that for me, it's less the external and it's more of the internal, as you talked about. It's really, for me, the essence of who I am. And that's the real question. How do we connect with that essence of who we are? Beyond what the world sees, or beyond this visual image that we have, how do we connect? And I thought about it this morning. I purposely and made myself take a walk because I haven't been walking for a while. And I realize I am able to connect with myself when I am by myself. I am able to be in that state. I am able to, I have affirmations that I use when I'm walking. It's about connecting to, the great spirit, higher power, God, whatever it may be, but it's also connection to who I am. And I recognized, because of all the chaos that's going on with school starting, and I mean that's a whole nother topic. Irene, I think we might talk about that at some point about how we manage these things. But I have a harder time connecting with myself in the times of chaos. I get lost. Everything is external. I'm reacting and I'm responding to everything outside of myself. And what it does, it takes me a moment to say, okay, I need to get in a quiet space. I need to remember who I am. I have to remember what I'm bringing into this world. I mean, part of my mantra is that I believe that I'm trying to bring light and lightness and connection out into this world. If that is part of who I am internally, and I'm being bombarded with all this chaos, I'm not doing what I'm here to do. I'm not serving the world the way that I want to serve it. So this has been an interesting reflection, but I love the idea of now having this moment of how do I connect to what I've been given, like my name, versus how am I connecting to the essence of who I am, that part that is essentially unnamed, right? I mean, for me, it's not really named. It's some energy, right? I know we're starting to get deep. Alex would be like, "Oh Lord."
He would love it.
Oh,
Speak of the
Karen,
devil.
you
Yes,
told him.
I agree. I was listening to you
It's
guys all the
funny,
That
time.
was
funny, Alex, because we just we're calling you because we were talking about something really deep and spiritual, and John said, well, if Alex would be here, he would say, okay, something woo, and you appear as an icon that was called, we have to exercise to manifest in that way. And I would love to call $1 million here, but they don't appear so easily, like you, Alex. What's your
You know,
secret?
guys, I do like to manifest myself in the right time. That's true. No, I was waiting for internet to be more stable because for some reason I don't know if me is disturbance, but somehow it was sometimes breaking. But now I think we are somehow stable. So yeah, that's true. I hear your conversation about names and what is behind. So what I can add is, yeah, I also feel that names have nothing to do with with what I really am, even though names some kind of have a nice history, and maybe like Alice, you mentioned lots of things in relation to what names do you have. I have my own association because in Russia we have also like a first name, second name, which indicates whose father son you are. I mean, so it's actually name of my father. That's my second name, and the family name also quite interesting because in my case the family name it's actually represents actually literally meaning the part of the horse, the part of the nose of the horse. You know that the horse does sometimes like so that sound, yeah. That sound is almost like a little bit of like a snoring kind of type of thing. And it has a name in Russian. And when I dig a little bit of the kind of ancestors meaning of that, they say that if you have a family name which belongs to the part of the horse, like 100% that your family came from Kazaki. It's the kind of it's like those soldiers who are riding horses actually. Yeah, and they were like a special kind of elite division of the king, Kazaki. And yeah, this is kind of they were actually guarding the border of Russian Empire, and as a result, Kazaki were living in Ukraine and practically everywhere on the borders of Russia, because they were guarding the border, and they were horsemen. So as a result, the family name is directly related to kind of hoof or tail of the horse or that kind of part. It's interesting. The whole thing is that we are defined by the history, but the essence, as John mentioned, definitely nameless. And when I meditate or do anything kind of internal work, I definitely realize that the one who is watching and observing everything is completely nameless. It's a pure, I don't know, some kind of consciousness, and has nothing to do with the nationality, has nothing to do with the I don't know, the ancestors, or nothing to do with anything. And this is, yeah, quite remarkable feeling. And yeah, that's what I can add to the conversation. John.
Yeah,
To
I
you.
was thinking. Well, I was going to move it to Irene because I'm curious. Maybe the next question, since this idea of essence came up, and we've all kind of touched upon something more deeper within ourselves. I mean, Irene talked about true self, and I'm curious, Irene, and for others, but starting with Irene, how do you connect to that part of you that's not the outside, but that inside, that true self, the essence of who you are? What do you do to connect to that part of you?
I just stop thinking. I relax completely because I used to I practice meditation a lot, and I am quite I can tell you 24/7 on a meditative state. And meditative state doesn't mean that you don't feel. Sometimes even you feel even more. You think even more. The difference is that you are detached from all these feelings, emotions, sensations that are going on, and you observe their free nature of everything. And more and more I connect with this essence that is all pervasive, all inclusive. It pervades everything. There is no distinction between me and the rest of the universe and the rest of you. We are one. And I don't need to recall at all because it's always there. Sometimes I need to evoke more. The sense that when I feel that I'm feeling too much, I say, okay, now I have to calm down, stop thinking again, and just relax. And this moment pervades everything. So, whatever was the concern that was coming up and every other things, they disappear uh, like a drone in the water. You know that you cannot draw in the water because the water cancel everything. It's just like that. Or and there is is continuously expensive. The more you recall these states, the more you have these states. And as I told you, it's not that um, you don't feel or you don't think. It's just that you are no longer conditioned from those things. And for all of us, it's always there. Just we have just to reconnect, connect, self connection. That's what the good title. And it's wonderful. Sometimes can be scary because if you develop, like if you are a high empath and healer like me, you can feel everything and it's around. The fear of your friends, the fear of you, and you know precisely who is feeling and thinking what it is. But it also it's scary just in the beginning. Let's say like that. Then you it's like an habit. You get the more you practice, the more you are acquainted with the fact that you feel everything. And you are able to handle some. We don't know how much powerful we are as human being, as energy. We can handle everything. We just think that we cannot, but we can handle everything.
Thank you, Irene. So, Alice, any thoughts after hearing Irene?
Yeah. She always invoked Lincoln. Well, with me, my self connection is really it's a conscious process that began, I think, maybe over a year ago. I decided that I was going to start getting up early and do my meditation, my scriptures that I go through, my prayers, and all of that. And I, at first, I gave myself a 3 month limit, because I figured if I do it 3 months, every day, I'm going to be good. But so I started doing it and I did it for 3 months. And after 3 months, I kind of wanted to do it again, and I start on a monthly basis. But what I noticed, the more I did it, the more I kind of wanted it. I start getting used to that connection that I had at one time only had maybe every so often, but now it was like I was getting it every morning. And now I've been doing it, I think I'm in my 14th month now. And if something is going on where I decide, okay, I need to do this early in the morning and I miss doing it, I feel lost. Not lost, but I feel something missing. So I've learned that when I do that, it gives me this time that I spend with myself, that I connect. And it's just, I mean, the same scriptures and affirmations I've been doing now for over 14 months. But it's like those same words have evolved and they give me different lessons depending on what's going on in my life. So it gives me different connections. It's like it's communication. And to me, this have been over these last 14 months. I don't think this is something I will ever stop doing because it just feeds me whatever is going on in my life. Whenever I get in that place and I do that, it answers my questions, and to some people, I know that sounds really crazy, but it does. It feeds me and it answers my questions, and I come out of it in just a different way of feeling. I know I'm showing up as a better person. I know because there were times when before I was doing it, if someone would say something or do something, to be honest, I would be kind of judgmental without knowing it. It would just immediately happen. But now I'm learning to ask myself, okay, how did they get to that place? We all get to where we are, a different path. How did they get to that place? What are they thinking? Remember when before you knew what you know now, the way you reacted. So I intentionally every morning do that little self connection thing. And I mean, it's really, I know Alex gonna laugh at this word, but it's become addictive.
I
So
knew
that's
it.
how
We're gonna
that's
talk
how
about that. Yeah.
I really had. I mean, that's how I do my self connection. I mean, I don't care really. And that's another thing, it's gotten me to where I really don't care if anyone else think it's crazy. But before I would have cared. So that I realized that's another level of growth where I've let that down, released that, what others think. And I've connected with me because it feeds me. And that's the only person I'm trying to feed from within is me. So that's my thought.
Wow. Thank you, Alice. Thank you. Alex, thoughts?
Well, guys, I will be quite short because I'm aware of time. I mean, the point is that in terms of meditation, even though I started to meditate quite early because of martial arts and other kind of things, I was reading a lot of Zen or Chan Buddhism kind of literature at that time. Nevertheless, I'm not considering myself really. I am not an expert. I mean, in comparison to monks, who are doing it, I don't know, 40, 50 years solid. So obviously, my knowledge, very, very shallow in that area. But what I sensed, the first thing is, I'm not sure I can even call that self, because we all right now talking about like a self connection or connect with self. I'm not sure that any attributes of that entity belong to self at all. I mean, Irene mentioned that it's like we all connected there. I know conceptually that it's probably true, and lots of mystics and advanced people are telling. To be honest, I'm not sure I sensed it. That just once in my life, I get that kind of feeling of total global connection with everything, just for the split of second, maybe a few seconds.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure that like I cannot really consciously reach that connection with everything kind of type of state. So, and but I conceptually I understand that probably that's what supposed to be happening if you are deep enough. And if it is true, and if it is happening, probably there is nothing from self is there. Nothing. Nothing what we can call as a self. Nothing there belongs to us. I mean, there is no personality, there is no history, there is no education, there is no conditions, as Irene mentioned, no conditions. So what is making it self? I mean, like my understanding, it is something, and that's the only thing I can tell. And the only thing is, I do sense is that when I am reaching that place and I am getting closer to that place, I filled with energy, and when I'm coming back, I feel energized. I feel rested. Probably, maybe it's a side effect that when I am there, finally ego and all that conditioning and all that kind of personality, all that Alex kind of type of thing with the nationality and all that stuff in his head, a little bit kind of away, and as a result, that gives me a rest. So when I come back, I feel fresh, I feel energized, I feel full of energy. But I am back to self, which, yeah, it's like it's a matter of terminology. So my point is that somehow I would be cautious to call that center as a really self at all. I don't know what it is. I mean, but it's kind of something amazing and something universal, something probably we all have connection to. I mean, that's my just my touch. So, John, does it make sense,
Yeah,
guys? I mean,
it does.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for me. Yeah, yeah. I was nodding my head a lot. Um, so, no, thank you, Alex, because it is, and I think it gets back to, and I'll kind of close it out with kind of the takeaways that I kind of captured here. Connecting with, and maybe it's not ourselves, it's connecting with the essence of who we are. It's that essence. I love that word. There's something beautiful about essence.
Yeah.
And for me, that's kind of what it is. If we have to kind of give something a term, that's what I use. But based on everything we talked about, I mean, so much of this is, we didn't use the word peacefulness, but there seems to be, when we are able to do that connection with self, that it does bring a sense of peace. But also, as you said, Alex, and others, it gives us energy, and it gives us this space, I think, to respond to the external world as opposed to react to it. And I think that is a really critical piece here. Are we responding or are we reacting? And I think the other beautiful thing that I know that Alice mentioned is that it allows her to show up differently and show up as a better person. Maybe it's
Nice.
showing up just being very present and being able to ask and take that time to ask the questions before reacting to something. And finally, I do believe that there is the sense, and we all talked about it, that we are able to better connect with the world around us if we're coming from this space, from our essence, and that's something that Irene really talked about right at the beginning. So I wanted to try to capture kind of the lovely messages and the thoughts that everybody shared today. And I think it's really powerful. And I think, from everybody's experience, there is something there, and there's something that can be really, really powerful about how we, when we connect with ourselves or to our essence, that it can make a difference, not only to ourselves, but to the world around us.
Perfect. Very nice. Thank you, John, for wrapping it up. And I believe we touched. And to be honest, topic is powerful, and topic is terminology is a little bit tricky, because we are talking about areas where our normal kind of words are maybe not directly applicable, but at least we have some kind of sense. And it seems like we all coinciding in the description. So, guys, thank you very much, and we will continue our talk next week then.
Thank you, Alex.
Bye-bye,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.